If you're new to Mac, your first few days can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you're used to Windows where everything's like second nature. Now things don't work in the way that you're expecting it to, like shortcuts are different, the file system can be a little bit different to navigate as well, and you might even find some things are completely missing what you're used to. So I'm going to walk you through what to change first, a few basic shortcuts to learn, and a few apps that'll help to make your entire experience that little bit easier.
First thing is the dock, which is like your taskbar, but instead of having a start icon to find and launch things with, you have your apps. Now the dock can be completely customized from appearance to function. So first, let's have a look at adjusting the apps that you want on your dock. And you can do this by dragging the app icon up off the dock, or you can drag down to the dock. Or you can even right click icons already on there, selecting options, then toggle keep in dock to pin or remove them. You can also add shortcuts to files and folders here right at the very end by dragging to the dock again, but be careful that you don't accidentally drop it into the bin. As you open programs, they will populate in between your pinned icons and the bin section. So if you find yourself using these regularly, you can always drag them over to the left to pin them in place. Next, let's customize the dock to our preferences. So we'll start with hovering over the black bars on the right hand side of the dock until you can see the arrow icon. Then just click and drag up and down to make the dock bigger or smaller. You can also right click the black bar to enable the auto hide and magnifier options if you want to make use of these features. And just like Windows taskbar, you can even move the dock to the left or right of the screen if that is what you prefer. Next, to make it function a little bit more like Windows, head into System Settings, select Desktop and Dock, and you can actually adjust a lot of the settings that we've already covered through here as well. Then toggle on Minimize Windows into Application icon. Now let's say if you've got 4 different Chrome windows open and 3 different folder windows open, instead of them popping down into your taskbar individually to the right hand side, they will now minimize into the program's icons on the dock. Then to maximize, all you need to do is head over to the icon and right click and select the window to bring back up. From this same window, you can also toggle a few different options to your preferences, like turning off the recent apps that pop up next to the bin. So now I want to show you all the funky ways you can navigate your system with the trackpad alone using swiping gestures. But the most important, I want to show you how to set up the right click function to your liking. So again, we'll open up System Settings, we'll select Trackpad, and while under the Point and Click tab, we'll select the drop down for secondary click and select the option that you prefer. Now I've personally got it set to click or tap with 2 fingers as it's the most natural option for me, but you may prefer clicking on the bottom corner of the trackpad itself to operate the function, much like right clicking a physical mouse. From here you can also enable the feature tap to click to tap on the trackpad instead of pressing it down to click. Now to scroll, you've probably already figured this one out, but all you need to do is use 2 fingers to swipe up and down, but you may find the direction in reverse to your preference. So head over to the scroll and zoom tab and toggle natural scrolling based on the direction you want pages to scroll. From here, you can also enable zoom and smart zoom, where you can either pinch to zoom like you do on your smartphone or tap with 2 fingers. Next, you're going to want to head over to the More Gestures tab and select scroll left or right with 2 fingers to enable back and forward navigation on web browsers. You're going to want to also enable swipe between full screen applications and set that to swipe left or right with 3 fingers. And basically, if you were running 2 desktop at once, say if you had 2 Chrome profiles open and wanted to swap between them easily, you can just swipe left and right on your trackpad with 3 fingers to jump between them. And the last thing you're going to want to enable is mission control and set it to swipe up with 3 fingers. Now what this does is give you an exploded view of every program that you've got open, and also toggle on show desktop. And all you'll need to do there is by using your thumb and 3 fingers, flick outwards on your trackpad and it'll show you your desktop. Now a lot of these gesture options are personal, so you can choose between different options and on how to trigger these functions, but they are a very easy way to navigate around Mac OS. Okay, so next we're going to make the file explorer, which is called Finder, a lot easier to navigate. See the little box with the face on your dock on the far left? That's Finder, your file explorer. Click it to open up a window, then at the very top, select the icon with 3 dots and 3 lines to set it to Details view. Then you can right click the categories to assign or remove any of the sorting options that you want. Now stick with me as we enable a few more viewing options. First, with the Finder window open, go to the very top in your menu bar, select View and enable Show Path Bar, Show Status Bar and Show Tab Bar. This will add a file path to the bottom of the Finder window, which will make it a lot easier to navigate around. And it'll give you status information like the number of files and the size. And the tab bar now will let you open multiple tabs within the same Finder window to navigate a little bit easier and to move files around easier as well. Over to the left hand sidebar in that Finder window, at the very top you've got favorites, where you can pin any destination into that section to make it easier to navigate to. And just underneath you've got locations. Now if you've got any kind of cloud storage or network storage or even hard drive access, this is where it'll all populate, and this is where you also safely eject from. Now for one of my most used features, which is arguably much easier than Windows, is the screenshot feature with Mac. So to take a full screenshot, hold down Command Shift and 3, and to take a manual sectional screenshot, press Command Shift and 4, which will bring up a crosshair and it'll let you select the area that you want to screenshot. With the crosshair active, you can even press the space bar and it'll let you select a program to screenshot rather than capturing your entire screen. Now this will all default to save onto your desktop, but it can get very cluttered there. So instead you can change it by pressing Command, Shift and 5, select options within the pop-up and change the save to location. Now if you're coming from Windows, you probably haven't heard of hot corners because nothing like this natively exists there. So I'll tell you what it is and how to set it up. Basically, every corner of your screen can quick launch a function from preset options. So let's head into System Settings, over to Desktop and Dock again, and at the very bottom, select the Hot Corners button. Now by default, you've already got Quick Notes set to the bottom right, which opens up notes so you can quickly jot down any thoughts, but you can remap this like I did to the opposite side and set any function you need to each corner. Now I've personally moved Quick Notes to the bottom left and I've turned everything else off because of the clipboard manager that I've got installed, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. Now let's take a look at the Control Center, which is kind of like Mac's version of the Action Center, but it's a handy hub to have a lot of shortcuts in. You can access it from the switch toggle icon next to the clock in your top menu bar, and I've changed mine over time, but basically once you click through, select Edit Controls and swipe through and have a look at all the shortcuts that you can assign directly to this Control Center over here. You've got options from things like connectivity, media player, focus modes, projection settings, sound and display options, and a whole lot more. Now Mac doesn't have a start menu that you can just browse through all your installed apps. So instead of navigating through Finder and into applications to go through a list and find what you're looking for, hold down the command button and press spacebar, which will bring up Spotlight Search, and just type out the name of any program you like and press return. You can also do the same thing with any file or folder that you're looking for, and if you want to search specific categories, select applications or files before typing. From here you can also set up actions, which are automations for some basic tasks. Alright, let's talk about keyboard shortcuts, because as a Windows user you know that this can be a bit of a rabbit hole, so I'm going to keep it to the basics you'll actually use every day. Now one thing to keep in mind is that most shortcuts work off the command button. So to copy and paste, you use Command C and Command V. For functions like going to the beginning or end of a line, press Command left or Command right. Command up and Command down will work like home and end, which will take you to the beginning or end of a page or jump you through paragraphs in a document. Now to move a file with cut and paste, you'd naturally think I'll just use Command X to cut, right? Well, that doesn't quite work the same way. So to move a file, you need to use Command C to copy it first, then you press Command Option and V to move it to its destination. This takes some getting used to, but there is an easier alternative and I'll cover that in the app section. Two more shortcuts worth knowing straight away are Command W and Command Q. Command W closes the current window, but on Mac, that doesn't actually quit the program. It just closes what you're looking at while the app keeps running in the background. You'll see a little dot under the icon on your dock, which means that it's still open. To fully quit a program, you need to press Command Q. Coming from Windows, this can trip people up because clicking X on a window over there usually closes the program entirely, but on Mac, there's two separate functions. So you may have noticed that I've been calling programs apps or applications, and that's because that's what they're called on Mac, and a lot of them are installed with a single action. So for things like the Microsoft Office suite, head into the App Store, find the program, press get and follow the instructions. This will basically install the program like it would on an iPad or an iPhone. Now, not everything is on the App Store, for example, Google Chrome. You'll need to download it from their website as usual, and some programs will have a pop-up box that says to basically just slide the program icon into the folder, which will start the installation process, and others will have an installation interface that'll appear that you need to follow through just like you do on Windows. To uninstall apps, it's as simple as opening Finder, heading into applications from the sidebar, finding the app that you want to delete, right click and select move to bin, or just click it and drag it to the bin. And that's going to bring us to some basic apps that I think you should install. While some of these will cost money, it is a worthwhile one-time investment in my opinion. For example, we've got App Cleaner, which is one that will actually remove all residual files left over while deleting an app. When you drag an app to the bin, it'll pop up with a dialog box to remove any lingering associated files for a full clean uninstall. Okay, now for the next one, remember how I said that there was an alternate way to cut and paste? It's through an app called Command X, which does cost a few dollars on the App Store. This will enable windows like Command X and Command V to cut and paste anything. It'll also make a cutting sound when you press Command and X, so you know that the function's activated, because it doesn't blur the file like it does on Windows. While it does cost a couple of dollars, it's a lot more intuitive for someone coming from Windows than trying to remember what Mac default buttons to press. Then there's Hidden Bar. I know I haven't spoken much about the menu bar at the very top of your screen where your clock sits, but see how you've got a cluster of icons right there? Well, Hidden Bar helps to hide them all to keep things clean. Kind of like how you can hide and show programs running in the background on Windows. Once you've got it installed, you will have this arrow button that you press to expand all the running apps, and to keep anything pinned, all you have to do is hold down your command button, select the icon of the program, and drag it past the little bar. Now the next app I'm going to tell you about is called PastePal, which is a clipboard manager on steroids. Ever since Mac OS Tahoe came out in 2025, Mac now has a clipboard history that you can access through Spotlight Search by pressing Command and Space, but it is quite basic. It doesn't actually allow you to pin anything, and the data does get overridden. The data also resets after a preset amount of time. PastePal, on the other hand, will keep a running record of every single thing that you've ever copied, whether it's text, images, links, anything, and it categorizes them by program. It does cost around $15 US, but is well worth it to make sure that you never lose anything that you've copied. I can't tell you how many times I've copied something and forgotten to paste it. A few days later, I've still been able to access the data through the app's interface. Now, this is the app that I was referring to when I was talking about hot corners earlier, because I've got this set to pop up every time I move my mouse cursor to the right side of the screen. Alright, one final one worth mentioning here, especially if you're coming from Windows and you already use OneDrive, is to grab the OneDrive app from the App Store and sign in to keep your existing cloud storage and files synced across all your devices. It will show up in your Finder sidebar just like any other location, making it easy to access. And the reason why I would personally suggest this over defaulting straight to iCloud is that OneDrive will help to keep you flexible. If you ever want to go back to Windows, or you want to switch to Android, or you just want to access your files from any device or browser without being locked into Apple's ecosystem, OneDrive will make that a lot easier. Now, pricing is roughly comparable to mid-tier iCloud storage, and although iCloud gives you 2 terabytes at the same price point versus OneDrive's 1 terabyte, OneDrive includes full access to Microsoft Office Suite, which evens that out pretty quickly if you do use Word, Excel, or PowerPoint very often. Okay, if you've stuck around with me till now, I'm going to give you a bonus tip which is very helpful to anyone using MacBooks. These machines with M chips are incredibly energy efficient, but if you want to push your battery a little bit further, enable low power mode in system settings. Now look, this does disable certain things like high refresh rates or maximum brightness options, and it'll also reduce background activity and decrease raw processing power by quite a bit. But I've had 11 hours of use for web browsing, streaming, and text-based work across 2 days with a single charge. However, if your use case involves things like photo or video editing, you probably don't want to use this option.
Anyways guys, that's it for this one. I hope that it has helped to make things that little bit easier for you. But if you do have any questions about Mac or switching from Windows to Mac, or really about anything that we've spoken about today, drop them all in the comments below and I'll do my best to help answer. So thanks for watching guys, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you all back here next week.